Now don't get me wrong, functionalism can be quite useful in all kinds of situations. For instance, functionally we might define this paper plate as a fan, just as we would the fearsome oscillator 5000. Look at her blow! Likewise, we would give the label instrument to this guitar, just as we would to Sarah's head when I begin to drum on it. See? Functionalism, in action. The question we have to ask ourselves is personhood the kind of thing that can be defined functionally? For instance, take Bob. Bob can move his arms and legs. He is aware of himself. He can form rational thoughts and think about things. He even speaks, and now he's aware of himself, and he can dance, and he can sing, and he can move about. He can even use simple tools like chairs to move around and put places. Yes, anyway, Bob can do a lot of things, and this makes him very happy. The question is Bob a person because he dances, sings, moves around, uses simple tools, forms thoughts, desires to keep on living? Or is he simply a person with the inherent natural capacity to dance, sing, form thoughts, and all the other crazy things? For example, what would we say about Bob's brother, Jimmy, whose legs don't work? Would we say that Jimmy is not a human person? Of course not. We would simply recognize that he is a human person with natural inherent capacity to walk, but because of the circumstances, lacks the ability to put this capacity into use. The distinction at play here is between what we are and what we do, between the person and the performance of personal action. Now, functionalism reduces person into a set of functions, thereby destroying this distinction between deed and doer, act and actor, human doing and human.
The complexity of the human person is just, it's just a mystery to some degree. What you see me do is only one dimension of who I am. Mm-hmm. You see me wear a black shirt with a white collar every day. Right. You see me pray mass. You see me act silly. But those things you see are only at one dimension of me. Mm-hmm. Who I am is far more than my function.
Like, all I see of Amanda is just that Amanda types and Amanda talks like this. Yeah. If there was a computer that did all these things just like Amanda, would it be Amanda?
No. You have to come to want to understand the person within them, to, have a deeper relationship with them, to understand who they are as a person.
Yeah.
I would never want to be reduced to my function.
Our actions are, I suppose, a part of who we are, but they're not, what makes us us.
I think we're more than just our actions and, like you said before, the body of cells just working together.
Again, even in our everyday language, I think we see this. We want to be distinguished from our function. We say, I want you to love me for who I am. I want you to accept me for who I really am. And what we're saying there is whether I succeed or whether I fail or whether I, regardless, I want you to accept me for a person, regardless of what I do. Functions are a little bit like signs. They often point to the inner reality of something or someone. However, we must be careful not to confuse the sign with what it signifies. Imagine, if you will, that we were to come upon a new species of aliens, and we wanted to know whether they're persons, whether they have this inner life that we do, this self that we experience. And to figure this out, we'd probably look to functions. We'd look to how they think, how they work, how they act, how they try to communicate. But the reason we would look to these things is because we're trying to look for some signal, some indication of their personhood. Another example, I recently had a death in the family, and as my grandma laid there on her deathbed, at one point we weren't sure if she was still alive, if she was still there. And so we asked her to blink. We said, "Grandma, blink if you're still there, if you're still alive." And we weren't asking her to blink because if it's still blinking, it's still a person. No, we wanted to know if she was still there, and the blinking would be her sign of that. The blinking isn't her, the blinking isn't her personhood, but it's a sign of her. It's a sign of her, the self that is doing these things. My goal has so much been to refute functionalism. After all, as we saw, it certainly has its place in our interactions and our understanding of other people in our society, and it's a very useful hermeneutic device. What I will say is this: as with all theories and ideologies that come past, we, you and I, must not let it slip by without pondering it deeply and considering its implications. It's definitely interesting to think that this little theory, which is usually just relegated to the classrooms of a philosophy department or scholarly journals, can so profoundly affect our thinking, our language, our understanding of ourselves and other people. I hope that this presentation has served as a good introduction to this theory of functionalism applied to human personhood. Until next time, keep thinking.